Okay, I'm going to talk about our speaker. Marsha Austin, how perfect, Marsha Austin, has been a part of ACC's Today's Jobs team, part of the Career Life Design Services for almost 4 years. She helps students market themselves effectively, improve their job search skills, and land their next job through strengths-based coaching and workshops. Before working at ACC, Marsha was a career advisor with NovaWorks Workforce Board in Silicon Valley for 30 years. Woman knows what she's talking about. Providing coaching, developing, and facilitating workshops, and working closely with participants in ProMatch, a proactive and successful organization similar to Launchpad Job Club. Thank you for the shout out. Please give a warm welcome to Marsha for her presentation, Communication Essentials, Quickly Align and Make an Impact.
Thank you. Thanks so much. I'm so happy to be here. And we did it, even with the rain and and all of that. It's like neither rain nor sleet nor snow. So happy to see you. So you all have really great communication skills. And so we're thinking about that in particular with when you join your new organization. You know, here you've been hired, you've been selected because of all the skills and the experience that you bring. And then, now you are joining a pre-existing team with all of their dynamics and things that you may not yet know about, because there will be decision makers, there will be influencers, people who are maybe not named leaders, yet they are leaders. When you're trying to get things done, later you learn how to do that. And there will be people who work quietly to get things done, right? So there are all kinds of dynamics and systems that they will have in place. So how will you join in with that? Think about in the past when you have joined in with a new group. How have you done that? So let's say you're in a meeting. An example would be you're in a meeting and you notice something that could be improved. And then, how would you bring that up? They may have maybe they built the system themselves and are proud of that system. So how will you bring up something when here you've been selected for your good ideas, right? So there can be this little, some decisions to make as we're doing that. They're kind of unconscious decisions, but we're still making decisions nevertheless. So in the groups that you were just in, for just about 5 minutes, can you discuss what that will be like for you? Do you have a plan? How will you strategize that when you enter into a new organization and a new group? How will you do that? Okay, so I'll be quiet and we'll just take a few minutes. So the groups that you were just in, if you could kind of discuss that. So what will that be like for you? And what are some considerations? What are you considering when you're thinking about how to enter into that group and those discussions, okay? So I said I would be quiet now. I'll be quiet.
Especially because you're doing it, right? So that's a great opportunity to say, hey, I'm and so they explained it, and they're like, well, our CEO is just really attached to this, and we've tried to change it, but we just can't. So then you go. Yeah, and that's great. Hey, no, no. I'm looking for a role in talent development. So before, when I first graduated out of college, and then I just got, I just like go right around that. I kind of love the training stuff. So I just like started. So I got my master's degree in development, with a focus on talent development. So yeah, I would like to get yeah, it's like a subject, but I'd say it's more data driven.
Ongoing continuous education.
Yes, yeah, and like professional development, like within the board.
I'm wondering, Caroline might have some ideas too.
I just need to put together. I think that would be great answer.
I forgot to click. Oh, thank you so much. And I think that's a great way to approach it. Potential conflict.
About 30 seconds.
I want that on a bumper sticker on my car.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Brett, could you have a better voice?
Okay. Let's drop it back up.
Thank you. Brett has a better voice. Okay, great. So what was that like for you? What were you balancing when you're thinking about when to speak up and when to hold back and learn more, and what came up for you in your conversations? Did you have any strategies or okay, great?
I think John and I had some fairly similar strategies.
Mm-hmm.
When you're in a big group, you don't always know the stakeholders and who should be included.
Mm-hmm.
So part of having this idea was to figure out who might you need to call into a separate meeting to kind of go over the idea.
Okay.
Because you don't want to monopolize the meeting with your idea when you may already have like an existing agenda.
Great. So you're learning more, and you're finding a way to do that in like a quiet conversation apart from the meeting, because we still don't know. If it's learning the landscape, we don't yet know the lay of the land, right?
Right, you don't always know who does what and who should be included in
Yeah.
what decisions.
Yeah. Even in the meeting that you have, you know, who has the information, right? Yeah. John, did you want to add to that?
So, I like what you said too. So with the core group, with the next step would be to right now through email those that would be interested in this particular topic or who have the skill set for this, because we don't know. A lot of times you think certain people you know automatically, oh, he's a tech whiz, he's a tech whiz, or she's a tech whiz, but you don't know who else might be a tech whiz. So you don't want to sit back and curse yourself by just totally ignoring other people that just might be just as tech savvy as that person. From there, there's a third thing we would do. We would set up a parking lot. The parking lot is when you go to the portal, and there's this little box here, and you will put down any and all questions. So you know what topics, what issues that need to be addressed, and you would bring that up through Q&A. But when you, like during a presentation or during the meeting, that when you would focus on that. Just keeping everyone mind crisp and keeping because there's no such thing as a bad idea. A lot of times we sit back and afraid to express and say certain things, and we're afraid how it's going to make us look. Don't bother me. I don't really care how I look. I'm just like that. But some people, they're introverted and they don't want to look silly. But if you put it out there on the internet, then it's out there. And then so-and-so, John, you said you asked this question. Oh, so I'm gonna ask you a question. Save a lot of headaches and a lot of misconceptions.
That's very executive sounding. So, and that was something that we talked about is the difference between if you're coming onto a team as the leader of the team, where suddenly the team is kind of like, okay, what are we in for? Versus you're the new guy on the team that's already been all together. And I think Donna had just the best advice. Just listen first, you know, and then do some one-on-one conversations.
The great strategy is listening, and then you also mentioned, you know, here it's about, you know, understanding what is happening within the group and asking questions there. And you're talking, in addition to that, about including others. Be sure you're including everyone who's a stakeholder, right, in that. So you're including people. You're also, if somebody has an idea, oh, it can go into a parking lot, or in the moment we can even listen to that person in the moment so they feel heard and understood, right? So we are helping people feel heard and understood, and that inclusivity is a really important part of that. Yeah. Connections. Right. Wonderful. So that's what we're talking about here, and you're just that's kind of our agenda. So where we're going with that. Any other strategies? Yes.
I think it's also important to share the dialogue and conversation in a group of people with different experiences, because it not only structures the dynamic of what that feedback looks like when it engages in the room together, but it also encompasses a broader conversation of what you can include, not only from their past experiences, but how you kind of put it together within engaging in a group that you don't know. And I think that's what the dialogue of what we had together was, the dialogue of our experiences that now shape how we can now connect a little differently than before. But it also engages the opportunity for everyone to expand the dialogue and to include everyone in the conversation.
And look how that works when you're having that conversation, and as you're having that conversation, you're feeling heard and understood, you're feeling seen, and then, oh, you have to work together on a team. So you've already you're starting to build that trust, you know, and we're trying to build those connections. And
for 30 years in healthcare, my mom was a nurse. She's had to deal with a lot of egos, doctors, excuse me. Yeah, so I mean, being able to navigate, you know, different, like, I will always, no offense, I will always listen to a nurse before a doctor because they know more in the hospital, you know, just really.
well, let's say to go there. Let's say someone is a nurse and they notice a mistake that someone has made. And if there's some kind of a hierarchy, that can be challenging to bring that up. It depends upon whom you're talking with. So there are lots of decisions we're making in the moment, right? And so we're still trying to build those connections and those professional relationships that has a lot to do with our success, our personal success. And there's a patient and maybe there's been a mistake made and we need to speak up. That's going to be important. So how will we do that, right? So we're doing that all the time. Maybe not in a dire situation like that necessarily, but it's still maybe dire because it has to do with our own professional growth and our own success in the workplace, right? All of those things are really important. So we want to help people feel seen and heard. And what are the risks, aside from the patient not being treated? What are some risks when you were talking about those things? What are some risks that you were kind of considering? Like if you speak up too soon, or if you don't yet know enough information, or if you speak to people and there are other people who could have been included in that conversation and they're left out. So what are the risks? Did those come up for you when you were talking?
I'm sorry to say, but there's a risk of being too aggressive. There's a risk of non-acceptance when you're talking in the dialogue of a group together. So it has to be embraced and inclusive enough that each one respects the other opinion and provide the feedback, but also have the dialogue around us. We also have to respect what we bring into the table, and also has to be inclusive. So, and that's what I was trying to do when I was talking, is to have a more inclusive dialogue that allowed me to share my experience and for them to share their experience and to be able to identify not only what they've gone through, but how it structures the relationship, but what we can connect together on.
Yeah, so many more little neurons and molecules. And yeah. And Raymond, how about for you? What were you going to add?
I was going to say that anytime that there's, you're speaking up, there's the risk of speaking up too soon and, causing trouble in some form or another for yourself or other people, or speaking up too late and having trouble be the result of not speaking up soon enough. And same with, if you want to have that sort of new to the position group, like you were saying, to deal with people versus a new to the position trying to find a specific mentor type role to, be the go-to person. We were talking about that in our group, trying to understand when you would apply both of those methods for learning the landscape. And if you pick the wrong person as your mentor, what's that going to result in, right? So those are risks to consider. And another risk is thinking about the risks too much. Having that anxiety kind of hold you back from something that, there's a chance of something happening wrong, but better to do something than nothing.
Right. And we've been hired for our expertise. We're expected, many people I've worked with I'm one of the embedded coaches in that program. So many people will say, my boss had asked me had wished that I would speak up more in the meetings or something like that because, you have good ideas. I wish you would do that more, right? So, and we don't know what our boss is thinking necessarily, right? And so we have that. So what you're mentioning is what many people will say is like, speaking up early versus am I going to seem like I'm pushy or am I going to be stepping on someone's toes because I don't yet know the landscape? Or if I observe quietly because I want to gather information, could I seem disengaged in the moment, right? So we're finding that balance, okay? And you're making decisions all the time related to that, right? So what to say, when to say it, and how to say it, those are really important as we are connecting with others. And now we're going to get to, here's our agenda. So here's our plan. So we'll be talking about the most important skills in an AI world, briefly. There's a Harvard study. It began with children and how they learn language, and now it translates to adults as well. It's called the Serve and Receive study. And then we'll talk about 2 mental tools that are very important related to what's happening with us as we talk with others or they say something to us. And we'll talk about some helpful skills, very specific skills. And because you already bring those skills, I'd like you, when we do that, to identify the skills that you're already using. There's a lot of strength, a lot of power in, sometimes we just do it naturally, right? We're not so aware of the skills that we're using. So if you can identify what those are, then you can use them with intention. And we'll talk about how you can use those skills with intention to be, say, a lifeguard and rescue someone who's being drowned out. Or to be a peacemaker because, oh, people are having opposing ideas. What will you do in the moment to bring everybody together? Or a compass to, bring the team back on track. Okay, and both Donna and Raymond, when you mentioned something when all the wonderful resources were being mentioned, notice that you mentioned something that, was important information, right? So we'll be doing that, we'll be bringing things up, and so it's like, we want to be doing that, and then so how will we do it? So there are just different ways. So that's a kind of a compass or a peacemaker or a lifeguard, or those are different roles that we will take using the very same skills. So you see how you can use it with intention in that way. So, and then another skill is framing it, having a conversational frame. And this is a stealth skill that you can use. You can use it all day long, and no one will even know what that skill is and that you're doing, because it will have a different form. And then we'll talk about some workplace situations, okay? Any questions about where we're headed? Okay, super. All right. So this is a quote by Chase Hughes. He was on, I don't know if you watched the podcast Diary of a CEO. So he was on there, and he said, and he's such a behavior expert. He does profiling and so forth, so he's quite an expert. So he said, making people feel heard and seen, because we were talking about that, right? Helping people feel heard and seen, but we're going even further with that. This sets us apart from AI, resonating with others. And when they feel, we're resonating with them when they feel heard, and we're not judging them when they are seen. So we're going even further with that. So AI, you were speaking about AI before, it's designed to be likable. It's so likable and friendly, and it's supportive of us and everything. One thing that AI cannot do is say, me too, right? So we can be that resonating voice with others and really build those connections, okay? So I should catch up here. I want to mention another, I'll just mention that in a bit. Okay, so here, this is the Harvard study. It's called the Send and Receive study. And it began with, don't worry, I'm not. So it began with children. So they observe little babies talking with their parents. And so they make a little sound, and the parents would imitate the sound. The parents would make a sound, the babies would imitate the sound. And that's how language began for the child. And it wired their brains and helped with that connectivity. Really important, related to that relationship building and also language building. So then they did studies with adults too. And so the connectivity is really, really important as we are connecting with others too. So the idea with a Harvard study is like, you say something, it could be in a meeting or anywhere, you say something, and you hope that somebody will respond to what you've just said. Sometimes in a meeting you can have an idea, and someone might say, well, maybe nothing happens with it. Maybe, wouldn't it be great if somebody say, well, that's a great idea, let's put that in the parking lot, right? Now it's captured. Somebody has captured your idea. Or they might say, wow, can you say more about that? Because maybe there's something that they'd like to clarify or something. So now something's done something with your idea. Sometimes that doesn't happen. No one takes up the idea. And the next idea, this can happen in fast-paced situations because conversations can be messy. It's not that there are too few ideas, it's there are so many ideas, and how can that be managed, right? So then what if your idea, no one says anything about it, and then, later in the meeting, someone else brings up a similar idea or the same idea, and someone says, whoa, great idea. Okay, so the first person who had that idea could just actually shut down. not feel like contributing much. So the receiving part of that, receiving what somebody has said, acknowledging what they've said, helping them feel seen and heard is a really important skill in the workplace. And the wonderful thing is, here we are, we think we have to contribute and come up with ideas. Well, if we can help with that conversation and help everybody feel heard and seen and clarify things, and we'll have different tools we can use, that's contributing a lot right there to help with that conversation. So we're seen, we're heard, it's low risk, and as we are learning about the lay of the land and the landscape, okay? So here, there are two important mental tools here. So in this situation, this is what we're doing in our brains all the time. And it happens at up to 268 miles an hour. So this is a cute little neuron there. And here's a neuron, okay? So here's an axon, nucleus, little dendrites, right? When we talk about managing the gap, when I'm talking about here's another neuron, here's the gap. These little neurotransmitters that happen here, when somebody says or does something, we're either responding to that or we're saying something to someone else. We're talking about this gap right here, this tiny little microscopic gap so we have when they do fMRI studies of scanning of somebody's brain, if somebody says something in a particular way, okay, inside somebody's going like this, it's all lighting up because of the way somebody might say or respond to something. So here's what we do naturally. The stimulus is somebody says or does something. We are designed to make up a story or find some kind of meaning in that. It's just what we do. It's part of the survival thing to kind of make sense of our world. So someone says or does something, we make up a story. We have a judgment about that story. And we have an emotion about the judgment we made. And then we respond. And as I mentioned, all this happens at 268 miles an hour. We're not even aware of it. So an example could be, let's say we're in a meeting and someone comes in late to our meeting, and about 15 minutes late, let's say, she comes in, she sighs, she plops down her things. We could be thinking different things. Somebody could be thinking, maybe she overslept. Maybe I'm thinking, what a diva, she likes to make grand entrances. Okay, or someone else could be thinking, maybe it's the traffic. I was stuck in the traffic too. Maybe it's the rain, So we might have a kinder story that we make up, right? So then we have an emotion because maybe we're here on time, and then we might be frustrated or annoyed because the other person isn't there on time because we don't know the backstory, and then our response could be, the reason this is so important, what if later in the meeting she has a really great idea? I might find myself holding back and not supporting her idea very much because I might have been thinking about the diva thing. Okay, and I won't even know I did it. And the thing is that many times we will come up with a negative story, slightly negative, because it's built in, because those who long ago saw a tiger and were a little skeptical probably survived longer. So it's just kind of something we might do naturally. So it's a good thing to think about. It's hard to when we have, they say, 60,000 thoughts a day. Hard to keep track of every one of those, right? Just knowing that that's a tendency we have. So that's one of the models. And the other brain model is this one. And this is the SCARF model. David Rock, this is his acronym. There are other acronyms out there. There's FORCES by Judith Glaser. They both studied over 100 brain studies. And this is like a meta-analysis of that, and they came up with these things here. So the idea is that our brain, to feel safe, these things need to happen. We need to feel safe related to our status. We don't want to feel diminished. We want to feel respected. We want to, certainty is important. So if somebody were to say, great idea for someone with such little experience. Huh? It started out great, but what was that? Or somebody might say, well, I think I heard we might have some funding cuts. Okay, uncertainty. Autonomy, do I have a sense of choice in the moment? Relatedness, two things. Does this person seem like friend or foe? Or, and do I feel a part of the group? Or do I feel excluded with this comment? And then fairness, and we all kind of define that in the same way. So the idea is, and you'll see threat and reward. So if somebody says something to us and we feel diminished in some way, it can actually be a helpful skill. We can name it to tame it, say, oh, that felt like a status thing for me, or that felt like that was unfair, that's why I'm feeling this way. So we can help regulate is that self-regulation, is that a new term? We can kind of calm ourselves down. And then, and then also with the positive reward, let's say if it's fairness or something, we could feel that way as well. So that's if somebody says something to us. And in the workplace, we for sure do not want to show defensiveness, right? We want to, so I have as a reference at one of the last slides, this is The Next Conversation, Argue Less, Talk More by Jefferson Fisher. This is kind of a hot new book here. We always want to have like a state-of-the-art information. And so he's saying, if you are upset, let your first word be your breath. So take a breath. So when this is happening, that every culture has a game like Simon Says. It might have a different name to it and so forth. But so Simon Says, touch your nose. Simon Says, pull in your ear. Touch your elbow. Okay. Okay. So that game is actually designed to teach children impulse control, because that's 5/8 of a second that we generally have to decide whether we're going to say something or not say something, whether we're going to say something or we're going to hold back. So it's a skill to develop, to have an awareness, and so not speak up necessarily in the moment, and to think about it. So to take a breath can be that's probably 5/8 of a second or a little bit more. So that can be useful for us, right? So yeah, so if somebody were to say to us and we don't want to become defensive, we could just say, if we've taken a breath, and say, interesting, say more, interesting point of view, can you say more about that? Let's say somebody's giving us some kind of corrective feedback or something. Tell me more about that. So we're kind of being calm, and then we're asking more information or something to get the information. And so it's just we kind of help ourselves, and it helps with our success in the workplace as well, right? Okay, so now I have some handouts here. Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. I'm not so good with thank you. So we'll talk about those specific skills that we mentioned. And as I mentioned, as we talk about those specific skills, I'd like you to be thinking about which of those you frequently use. You need more?
Yeah.
Okay.
We need that more.
Okay, we'll get it. It's 20-weight paper.
Fancy.
Looks like we need a couple more. Yeah. Thank you. Great. Thank you. Oh, okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, I remembered, I also want to remember, there's a situation here where I felt seen and heard, and that is my umbrella had cut my thumb here. And so I noticed, I kept trying to contain it, but that didn't work. And so Raymond said maybe, they'll have a Band-Aid here at the front desk. So I went to the front desk and I asked them, and they directed me over to a first aid thing that's over here on the wall here. And they said, it's over where that gentleman is. And that gentleman was Raymond getting me 2 Band-Aids. So you see what that does? Say somebody feels seen and heard and valued. And then what if we're going to work on a project together? We already have some nice connectedness there, because that one gesture where somebody feels seen and heard. Okay, so they all matter. We're building trust in the workplace. That's why, to build trust in the workplace, it can take a bit of time, because when we build trust, it's like, I say I'm going to do something, and then I do it, right? And then so people know that I can be counted on. And that can take a little time to do that. So we're just trying to show that we're building those relationships in that way. But look how that speeds things up when you help somebody be seen and heard, right? Okay, so here are our tools here, the specific skills that we'll be talking about here. So the first are simple signals and questions, paraphrasing, and notice and ask, and notice and suggest. Okay? So would someone like to read for us under simple signals and questions? Would someone like to read those two comments? Great, thank you, Julia. Thank you.
Simple signals questions. Interesting. Say more about that. What did you enjoy most? Which are the most important points for you? What would you like to see happen?
Great, terrific. So you see how if there's a comment here, that could be something you could do to ask more, and you can ask to clarify. Or let's say someone says something about the Framish Food Shaper KJ9 series, and we're new. So we might say, can you say more about that? Because we're likely to hear acronyms. We're likely to hear phrases that are common to them, right? So we can just say, Framish Food Shaper KJ9 series? We can ask for clarification on something. So we're amplifying what the person said, and we're clarifying, okay? And then how about so simple signals and questions, you're gathering more information. You're going to get more detail, right? Paraphrasing will do the opposite. It will help to help people feel understood. It'll also be if someone is talking, giving a lot of detail, and if you paraphrase carefully, and we do it well enough so they feel heard and gotten, they're likely to stop, because and you might even notice a little sigh, a little that means we've paraphrased well enough. Who would like to read those examples here for paraphrasing for us? Oh, Caroline, thank you.
So for you, it's important that you'd like to see, it looks like you'd like to see us make some changes and consider this. So these are your ideas, and these are Max's ideas.
Great, terrific. So we'll see too, like if you were to be a peacemaker using paraphrasing, you could say, well, it sounds like these are your, first we could, we'll go to another example there, but you could say, it sounds like these are your ideas. It sounds like these are Max's ideas. Looks like we were really committed to solving this well. So now we have the shared vision. And then you could open it up to, I'm wondering what others are thinking about this. Or, as John was saying, you say, let's capture those ideas. Let's write those down, either in a parking lot or, in the moment somewhere. Do a whiteboard and then take a picture of it and distribute those ideas, where those ideas are not lost. And then, so that can be we're hanging on to those ideas, and so. Because it could escalate because people are not yet feeling understood, and that their ideas are going to be captured and held on to, right? So that's why this can be so useful as well. And then notice and ask, and notice and suggest. And this is what happened in the meeting, right? You notice something and you mentioned that, and look how that helps the team, right? And then, because I didn't speak up related to job scan on June 12th, but because you did, then I added that, right? So look how important that is. So notice and ask, and notice and suggest. Who would like to read those 3 comments there? Great, thank you. Oh, sorry. Next time. Okay.
We can split.
Okay. Okay.
I noticed you guys started to say something. Hey, what were you going to say? I'm noticing some crosstalk, and I'm not able to hear all the great ideas. Can we speak one person at a time?
We seem to be spending a lot of time on this topic. What do we want to do about the rest of the agenda?
Great, terrific. See how all those they're very helpful? And that was also good. We had negotiating, right? Negotiating skills. Terrific. Okay. So here we have We're using those particular skills. Now, we're taking, here they are, okay? Glad you have it in front of you because I didn't click. Okay, so now, if we think about, we're just taking the notice and ask and notice and suggest, and we're expanding upon that. I mentioned before being a lifeguard, a peacemaker, or a compass in a situation. So here's a lifeguard conversation. You're rescuing someone who's being drowned out. Maybe they start to say something and they're being interrupted. And that the interruption is because people they care, you know? They care and they've got an idea and they don't want to forget their idea. So they might do that. So there could be that crosstalk. So who would like to read the lifeguard comment? Great, thank you. Okay.
I think you had something like that,
sorry.
idea earlier. Can you say more about your idea?
Terrific, wonderful, good. So now we've helped her, right? And what if she has this idea and then, and nobody says anything? And then later somebody else has that idea, you know, somebody else says something similar because, she's just reminded them of something. They say something and now this is amplified. We can go back and say to Tanisha, I think you had said something earlier. Can you say more about that? What was behind your idea? So we can do that for each other. And then the peacemaker. I'm not very good at this part here. The peacemaker, would you like to read that?
States common ground and ideal outcomes. So it looks like we are all committed to providing the best possible experience for our customers. These are your main points, and these are your main points. Let's write them down. What other ideas do we want to consider?
Thank you. So that is both capturing what somebody has said, and it's also being inclusive of others in that way too. How about the compass? A compass comment here.
I'm noticing the time, and it seems like we've drifted off our agenda.
Right. So yeah, you can be brand new on the team, and you can say that you're not stepping on anyone's toes. You're just what you've noticed. And when we say notice, we're just talking about the observable facts, behaviors, observable behaviors. We're not putting in any opinion in there. We're not putting in any blaming in there for sure. But if we just state what we see or what we're hearing, it's not sticky. You know, it's not loaded. We're just talking about what we observe. No blame at all. Okay? So the next, we're just kind of go through these and then we'll be thinking about them further. So the next one is, this is about framing conversation, and Jefferson Fisher is big on framing. And this idea first learned about with Brian Tracy long ago. He would talk about a statement of positive intention. You can use this all day in the workplace and no one will even know it. It is so powerful because it helps, you're setting the tone and you're already clarifying where you're going with that. So it's really, really useful. So here we have some, I've highlighted, on yours, I didn't highlight the statements of positive intention, but would someone like to read the one to a busy boss, and then we're going to see, okay, what is the statement of positive intention within that sentence? Who would like to bring that one?
Sure.
Oh, sure, Benjamin?
So that I can do this well and do it quickly, may I ask a couple of questions to clarify what is needed in the report?
Great, terrific. So what would be the statement of positive intention there?
To do it well and quickly.
Great, terrific. So let's say your boss is about to go into a meeting and you have some questions or you have to do something immediately. And if you say to your boss, may I ask some questions? Your boss may say, well, I have to go into this meeting and I'd be happy to talk with you later. What if, though, you say, so that I can do this well and do it quickly, may I ask a couple of questions? Well, to do it well and do it quickly is also a goal of the boss, right? You know, so if you're saying that, you may get some time for your boss before your boss goes into the meeting. Okay? And how about to a coworker? Let's say you're working on a project together. Who would like to read the second one? Great, thanks, Don.
So that we can achieve our goals by this date, let's decide how we would like to divide up the tasks.
Great, terrific. And so the statement of positive intention in there is?
Goal achievement.
Great, right. It's a goal achievement there. So here, I've highlighted it. Did you have that? So putting that in there can be helpful. Okay, to a team, and there are 4 examples here, and the last one has embedded in it more than one statement of positive intention in there. Who would like to read all of that? Great, thank you. Thanks, Brandon.
In order to determine which items are most important and prioritize, so that we can improve our process as we work together to ensure that we're providing the best possible customer experience. Just so I understand, the purpose of this meeting is for us to finalize our decisions and put a bow on it so that we have some kind of finished product, even if it's not perfect yet, so we have something tangible.
Great, thank you. Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so the first one is, what is the first one in the first one? Great. So prioritization, and so we're stating that, and then that first one too is I want to be sure I fully understand something. That can be really useful if you're brand new on a team, right? And somebody says something, and you can go in and do that. So we're not just saying. You could say, can you say more about that? Yet we're also saying something about ourselves, and they're going to learn about our conscientiousness and that too. Okay.
On that first one, would it be better to say something specific that you're looking for more understanding on, as opposed to, can you say something more about that?
Sure, you could be specific, because maybe you've used some kind of key word, and we don't know what that means at all, right? And we can, so we're kind of prefacing it with, I'm new on the team. I want to be sure I'm doing the best job possible. I want to be sure I understand the context here. Can you say more about that? And you could use those specific words, right? So look, see how that comes in low? And yet you're really contributing to the team and to the quality of the conversation. And okay. And then I want to mention let's go to this one here, the last one. Just so I understand, the meeting is for us to finalize our decisions, put a bow on it, have some kind of finished product, and have something tangible. We've got a number of goals in there, right? In a perfect world, this is what it would look like. So that's what we're sharing as we're talking. And you see how these take a different form, and you can do it all day long. What other ways of communicating do we have where this could be especially useful? Not just talking. How else could this be useful? Emails, texts, okay? So many times we might be misunderstood. So if you start with that, wow, now you may have less back and forth because somebody's going to fully understand. Or what if you are new on the team and you have some thoughts and ideas, and you send an email with your thoughts and ideas? We don't want to be thought of as some whippersnapper. If we say, after our discussion today, I had some ideas here that that might contribute to the discussion and so forth. I'd like to know what you think. And you could have those things. So see how it just kind of sets the tone, and no one is going to misunderstand what we said. Because remember that we say or do something. Someone has a story, makes up a story, and then a judgment, and then an emotion, and then a response, right? So we're nipping that in the bud. Okay. So very important skill. And then, as I mentioned, it's not named that in Fisher's book, but that's what it is. You're stating those common goals. Really helps with peacemaking. People have differing ideas. Wow, looks like we're all really passionate about solving this problem, right? So you've done that because that's a we statement, right? And then acknowledging what somebody's saying and somebody is also saying. So these can be useful. Okay, now you'll turn over your handout. Day 1 dilemmas. It could be the first week, it could be the first 3 weeks, but something could, these are scenarios that could be happening in the workplace, right? So, scenario A. In a meeting, the team is discussing a problem you've solved before. Their approach seems inefficient. Scenario B, you notice a process that could be improved. It's tied to a system that the team has built themselves. Scenario C, a teammate asks for your opinion directly in a group setting. You don't understand all the context. Scenario D, your manager asks you to bring fresh ideas. The team seems resistant to change. Okay. So, let's see. So, if your two teams, Shannon and this table here, if you could take scenario A, so, yeah, and you can, however you want. Well, you can. Let's just do the groups that you had before. How's that? Is that good? Okay, everybody's good, and then you guys too. Okay, so let's do it this way. Wait, 1, 2. Okay, scenario A, scenario B. If whatever groups you have on that, whatever your group is. I think your group was like that too. Just get into your groups like that. Scenario C, scenario D. So it's kind of loosely what I said there. So in your groups, but this is kind of, And then if you decide you really want to discuss another group, another scenario, you can do that too. Okay?
Marsha, we're D now?
Yeah, you're D. Yeah. Thank you. What a great clarifying question.
That's wonderful.
I guess we were going to do the same group that we had. Because they're
How long?
5. Yeah. Thank you. It's a great help. Thank you.
All new daggers.
That's not like
I'm gonna wander.
I would really appreciate a review of where you guys are in this before I jump in with my opinion.
I think one of the things like this to a team thing, kind of combined with the paraphrasing thing, the statement of positive intention would be to make sure that my understanding of the situation is correct. Is it and then they would pick out the parts that
So that they buy into the process of change.
Right?
The manager was demonized.
Yeah, I know, I was like, I think they're D now. We switched. You can do them all, you was an extra D, you can be the group.
Again, I think it would just be like our science communication guys. Then ask whatever question you're gonna ask regarding is this
Yeah, I think we're basically saying the same thing. I was just trying to make it explicitly following the rubric that just lays out as like
And they're not fresh,
It's like this, I can think like a Venn diagram of this is where we get together, this is where we are right now, and this is what works, and this is what we're missing. But okay, how can we get this areas that we're missing? Maybe the system is a little funky, or maybe the way to get information out of it is too technical. How can we make it more accessible to the user? Things like that.
I agree with your assessment. I think additionally you could also have some
that's not a good
direct,
place
and
to
it's
be,
just like,
especially
well,
when
yeah,
you're
it's
like,
part of it,
right.
whatever, the way that you say something
Because you really
is
wanna
in
build rapport with
what
people.
would be considered in like, okay, everybody understands it, that is stuff. That kind of sounds fun.
That's, yeah.
Yeah, I think it sounds a lot like,
It could be, you know, bring fresh ideas.
One minute left.
where they never say, you know, we can't
Wants
do
to,
this.
say yes to it.
It would be,
You know, wants to look for like.
whereas everybody knows that always not, but literally,
Fresh idea.
so if somebody is introduced to that environment.
I know, like they want,
so
maybe
randomly
the team
someone
wants
may
something
have
actually
custom.
practical.
And something like that can also apply to company culture, organization.
So sometimes it's, you know, surfacing.
That's one of those.
Criteria, or trying to make there's budget restriction, or
No, that's always true, there's always the tip of the iceberg and the underneath the real man. Yeah.
Yeah, and it also helps because,
So what's the risk of speaking? Well, you do too long, you're gonna, your risk there is cemented. Because you're there to make changes. I'm assuming.
All right,
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Right, yeah.
So,
All right.
because of our time, I want to honor your time. So you had different scenarios, yet I think I'd like to ask as a group some of the, because you had to come up with strategies, right? The scenarios are slightly different, yet I'm guessing so you might have come up with similar strategies. So what strategies, I have two questions for you. What strategies did you come up with? And then also, are you noticing your own style? Because somebody might want to be first out of the gate with a comment, somebody else might want to hold back. So it's funny that there's a bit of tension there, which is normal. It is absolutely what we do. So first question, what strategies did you come up with, or what was that like for you in that conversation? John?
Well, ours is scenario A, so I would want the person to elaborate on what specific problems prior to the current problem and how it was comparable to one another. From there, then we would go on to resolving that said problem.
Great. So you have some. Notice it's good. See how powerful questions are. Whoa, there are books on them. Lots of books with all the wonderful questions you can ask. And look what that did. And it comes in low. It's respecting. If we think about it's respecting the group. There's certainty in it. It's fair. People have choices. You give them choices. And the relatedness. People think, oh, this feels like a safe conversation, and oh, I feel like I'm a part of the group. It does all of those scarf elements all in one, right? And you're going to get that additional information that you for sure need, right? Great. Okay. How about the next scenario? What did you come up with here? So now it's going to be, is this B? Okay. Thank you.
Well, we had two Bs, but yeah. Yeah, well, so we had the idea of bringing the peacemaker portion of it, and it's a process that could be improved, and presenting them the three options of this is the process that you have, there's the new process, and there's a hybrid process, and having a quantitative analysis of what works. So having the data kind of become the factor that would help, but also know that the process that they brought, we're not negating it, we're bringing it, and we're making sure that it's valued, because at the end of the day, we might end up with a hybrid process, but so it's not just throwing away what's been done, so trying to be a peacemaker there.
I love the data aspect.
And then
I think-
brought in the data aspect,
Yeah.
the gaming solution part. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so the idea was that you would take in, quantitative data or take surveys from
objective, but it is as more objective than it would be as, oh, we're just gonna go with one because like, just because it was like a majority vote.
Mhm.
Because one action tends to speak louder than words, especially when talking about like program implementation.
Mhm.
But also in the sorry.
It's okay.
I was trying to thought for a second.
Sure. You were solving the problem. Yeah.
You're talking about basically that it's objective, so it's not going to hurt people's feelings.
Yeah.
And it will be a great metric for like, okay, this is what worked, but there's still an issue with it.
Yeah.
And then you've got the data to overlay on it.
Yeah, and it also points towards like next steps to continue iterating and building up your program, be it a technical solution or social program or whatever.
That's great too, and you're thinking, and as you mentioned, majority rule. Okay, sometimes somebody, if you think about drowning out people, here somebody has an idea. Okay, you're talking about consensus building. You take a look at all the data, and you interpret the data, and you see what works best, and so forth. So terrific, super. I want to honor your time here, so can we go to the C, right?
C. So for this scenario, teammate asks for your opinion directly in a group setting. You don't understand all the context. We used a combination of rephrasing and the statement of positive intent to say, for example, you could say, to make sure my understanding is correct, and then rephrase what you heard before you make, to tell them your thought, but also to say, I just want to make sure that I understand what's going on. Or you could say something like, before I give you my opinion, let me rephrase what I heard.
How nice.
Go ahead and, make sure that it's just ask for that context in a way that you're being supportive of their contributions, but also stating that not quite clear without undermining your value.
Sure.
Or credibility.
So you're being mindful of their contributions, and notice how you're also contributing, right? You're contributing to the quality of that conversation. Beautiful. And then the final scenario.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. Your manager asked you to bring fresh ideas, but the team is resistant to change. It sounds to me like the manager has already tried things before. And so they're bringing you in as kind of some fresh blood to, bridge that gap. So we're talking about bringing in like the peacemaker mentality, getting everybody on the same page, and then using some of those like team-oriented phrases. We're all working together. We want to improve our process, and just being curious, like figuring out what are they resistant to, what are the pain points, why have those changes not worked in the past, and then either getting some kind of group understanding from the team so that you can present that to the manager, or figuring out what the manager's tried in the past that hasn't worked for the team. So kind of getting both sides to see.
That's great, and you may make a suggestion, and you're doing it from a point of view of curiosity, right? That's a strategy right there, in doing that. And so it's coming in low, and you're being respectful. Think about all those. The scarf, you're being respectful in every single way related to that. Okay, terrific. So as a bonus, please remember your star stories. So in the workplace, let's say you're going to the parking lot, you happen to be going to this parking lot at the same time as your boss. Here's an opportunity. You can say, whoa, I am so excited. I'm so happy. Our customers said that they were able to accomplish this because we had provided them with that, right? It doesn't take very long to do that. And so you've not just said, oh, I did this. You tell that story, and your skills are embedded in there, right? You can do the same thing in a team meeting. Let's say, we noticed something somebody did during the past week, right? We can say, oh, I noticed that this happened, the way that, a situation with the customer was handled. Wow, kudos to so-and-so who handled that. So we can amplify and elevate each other in that. We can do it as a team, even in the meeting. Wow, look at all we accomplished today, you know. We're just underscoring that. And, you know, and then your team might have, maybe at the beginning, some successes. What are some of the things that we did this week that were, you know, since we met last, that were accomplishments that we can share that information and share it in the celebration of that, right? So star stories are so powerful. It is a best practice skill. We used to do assessments where people would sit and watch videos for up to 3 hours, and it was multiple choice, and they'd come up with a report. And developing or demonstrating effectiveness in the workplace is a big, important skill. And sometimes we just don't want to toot our own horn, right? So those star stories can help you demonstrate your effectiveness, and no one will see that either. They will not see your skills are embedded in there, and they will not see that. It won't feel like bragging. It'll be modest, and it will be very powerful still. So that's important there. So then finally, so success in a role isn't about proving how much we know. It is about showing that we know how to contribute and kind of join in with the team. And you notice that everything that was said here today, can you see how that would be glue? You know, see how that would be those little connectors, you know, and the little neurons? It's all said respectfully and really valuable information as you're going forward. So I hope that this is just a reminder of the skills that you bring. And then as you looked at this, I asked that second question I want to ask you now. Did you also identify some of the skills that you usually use, part of your style, as you were having those discussions? Did that happen for you as well? I see heads nodding. Okay, I hope that's true, because when you identify the skills that you use, then here's a situation and you can use it with intention. Look at the strength there, look at the power there. Wow. Okay, so I hope this is useful for you. We're kind of amplifying the skills that you already have. It's all about amplifying, you know, helping each other be heard in meetings. It's also, recognizing the skills you have and then helping each other recognize those things. So thank you for your time. It's really wonderful to be with you. And as part of the strategies for today's jobs, we live over in that corner over there. And although the classes are online, I'm one of the embedded coaches in there. And then, so just so you know that, we're also part of the, because it's now Career Life Design Services, that's a new name for the department. We're also part of the Make It Center upstairs. And you may not know this, but there's a new Make It Center that's just opened on the Round Rock campus. And there will be another one upcoming too. So a lot of resources. Look at all the resources that Shannon provided. Wow, at the beginning of your meeting, right? And so a lot of resources here at ACC too for you. So thank you.